Hello, my friends. Hope you're well. Welcome to a new style of podcast. I'm not really sure how this one's going to go. Today we're going to be interviewing my barber Sorin.
Hi guys.
And yeah, we're going to be talking about his career a little bit, and we're going to talk while he cuts my hair, which I thought would be interesting. So for those who don't know you, Sorin, how did you get started in hairdressing, barbering, however you want to?
Short or long story? How you prefer? Long story. Okay. All right. The longer, yeah. Where should I start? When I was young, my dad used to cut my hair. Actually, it was no cutting, it was more savaging my hair. And one day I said to my dad, "We're gonna be a day when I will cut your hair and I will treat you the same you did." And he said he was laughing, and it was just a dream of mine to be a hairdresser for a long, long, long time. To a point when I was around 35, when I decided to be a hairdresser, and I've done it.
That was because for those, I mean, it's known in an industry, I think. Well, I mean, we'll get into the business side of it after, like later, I'm sure. But like, a lot of it is very training led. I mean, how is that process for those who maybe?
It's a little bit more complicated, to be honest with you. So if you want to be an apprentice, it's a long time. Mm-hmm. To simplify this one, is better to the private academy, which is a little bit shorter but more intense. So when I decided to be a hairdresser, was a spark, and something came inside me when I decided to be a hairdresser, and that was happening in 2018.
Okay.
When my wife was in a hairdresser, and I was waiting there for hours, and I felt I was connected with this industry, especially when, as I said, I'm going back to when I started. My dad used to cut my hair, and I used to hate it, and I used to use one of that clippers when you do it with your hands. It was not cutting, it was more pulling. That's why I was hating much, and I was crying, and I was lock me with shut up and stay to cut your hair. And to a point when my dad bought an electric clipper, and he was still doing my hair, and I was begging to go to a barber and have a proper haircut. My dad said, "No, you're fine," and everything. And when my friends used to go to barbers, I used to go with them and I look what they've done, and I start replicating things at home on my own hair. To a point when friends asked me, "Who cut your hair?" And I said, "Myself." And they said, "Okay, can you do something that to me?" I said, "All right, let's give a go." So then I think I was 15, 16, something like that, when I start cutting my own hair and I start cutting friends' hair. Money was nothing, it's just peanuts. But I used to love it. I used to enjoy it. Doesn't matter how nervous I was. When I was cutting hair, I would find it relaxed. And that was one of my passion. It starts to be a passion for me. I want to be a hairdresser. I want to be a barber. But my dad said in that time, I think you should do something more man job, not being a hairdresser. And I postponed all this hobby or this passion because, I was living under my parents' roof, so I have to do what they thought would be better for me. And back to when I was 38, I said to my wife, "Okay, I want to be a hairdresser." And then I start looking online, what's the best do. And the best option is to do private in London. And where the journey started. I paid the deposit and I start traveling to London for 32 weeks, learning how to cut hair.
Do you think there's a stigma? Because you mentioned, obviously, your dad was very, traditional in the respect of, you need to do a manually job, right? Do you think there's I guess in some ways, a stigma around like you need to be a woman to do hairdressing?
No. It wasn't about that. No. It's not a man job. I think down there it was more women's cutting hair than gents.
Okay.
But he thought it's not a career. You can't make success. Be an electrician. Be a plumber.
So he was concerned that it wouldn't necessarily.
Yeah.
Have fruit to the labour.
Yes. Something like that.
And then so you go to London.
So I booked online. I've done the Tony and Guy 32 weeks non-stop to London academy.
Yeah.
And I was traveling Monday to Friday.
So how did you find it? Because I think people who are maybe looking to get into into hairdressing, into barbering, etc. Like, was it a side job? Like, did you book it all up before? Like, how does that Because it's not cheap, right?
It's not at all. It's not. No, it's quite expensive. You have to think about. You have the cost of living for 32 weeks, almost 6 months. Yeah, on top of that is the travel to London, trains, food, and everything. So I had savings. All my savings went to London. So
okay, which was previously from other jobs.
Previously from other jobs. So all my savings, instead of buying a house or have a deposit for a house, all my money went to London. Could be a gamble. You take a gamble. You can go, and maybe you don't like it. You're not enjoying. But soon you pay the deposit, it was non-refundable. And I went and I found it fantastic, quite exciting. But it was hard, because every day was traveling from 6:45 in London, come back 8 o'clock, 7:50, 8:20, 9:20. Sometimes depends on the models, depends on the lots of jobs that you had to do. On cuts wasn't so difficult. When we start color, it was a little bit more difficult. It was not a time frame we have to finish. When we start doing ladies or gents, you accordingly had about 3 hours to finish a model, but after that was...
And did they teach you the business side of running a salon and and how to make money?
No. It was like a beginning.
This is how you cut?
Yeah, so just the beginning, Or how to start with the customer and everything. Everything on the beginning for a few weeks was more theory, all right? And then you had to do the test to make sure you understand the theory and everything, how it works. And soon you finish a test, an MVQ level, then you've been able to work in the blocks, doll's heads. And soon you do that, then you'll be able to start.
And then you move on to models,
the model, Okay. So it was a process you have to follow. So if you stuck on one of the questionnaires or on the courses, you can pass. You're not allowed to go back to cut. All right. So you have to do theory first, practice.
Yeah.
You soon the practice on the doll. You're confident to cut. Then you can have a real model. Otherwise, was a little bit more.
Is there in some ways I would say an over risk? You're concerned, because what if you get it wrong when you're learning, on a real model, right? Because if you get it wrong on a head, it's okay, it is what it is, right?
But you have to be confident when the teacher, they are watching you all the time. If you're not confident in a doll, then we're not going to put you in a real model.
Okay.
So you're not going to have one. But everything will start with the basic.
Yep. And then you build up from there?
Yeah, you build up. Yeah. So every customer had a consultation first time with you. You discuss about what the achievements and everything, and then you go back and proceed. And 99% the teacher was behind you. If you do something wrong, they will stop you. But everything was in section. You finish a section, then you can come and check.
Yeah.
Then you move forward and forward and forward. That's why most of the models down there, they've been allowed for 3 hours. They have to understand we are cutting, we are learning to cut and all this.
Yeah.
Okay.
How did you then transition from the practicalities of let's use another example, I know how to use a camera or I know how to be a tradesman or etc. to then actually making a functional business? Because I think so many people, they maybe love something, maybe hairdressing or etc. But they don't know how to, when is the best time to make that leap? How is the best time to make that leap? And then where did you learn it, right? Did you learn it or was it practical on the job or etc.?
Everything was in there, and you have different models, different heads, which they want to achieve something. Always is not you do a model, you tick a box, that's it, you can do that haircut. Always you have a challenge, right?
But when it came to the functional parts of actually like operating the business,
that was a bit harder. You have to, after I finished academy, I started working in a salon to see how is the salon environment. So instead of 3 hours being in academy, you are 50 minutes or 1 hour in a salon.
Yeah.
And then you don't have time much to chat the way you're doing now. You have just chatting, consultation, quick wash, start cutting, blow dry, and next customer was coming. So you learn a little bit from mistakes, but if you always, when you start something, you know what you can achieve is based on consultation, how you talk with the customers, what the achievement, they know how to focus, you have to be careful about lots of factors about hair. It's not all the cuts will gonna be for everyone, you know, you can't, you have to tailor-made for everything. You learn the basics of 12, 16 haircuts, then you can multiply them to anyone. And you tailor-made every haircut different for different customers, okay?
And when, I mean, so I guess I suppose the traditional path is you get hired by a salon. Is that the career goal for like a lot of hairdressers, or is it more?
No, that's when I'm
going to be self-employed and then I'm going to be a business owner myself.
No, when you finish the academy doesn't provide you a job. May ask you to stay in London to work for them. You might do being a freelance, or you can go in your local area and you ask someone to employ you.
Yeah.
But most of them, they refuse to take you as a newbie because you don't have salon experience. So I've been 1 year in Basingstoke. I learned in the salon, how is the salon environment. I used to do cuts, color and everything. And to work for them, they want more intense courses. So every week I was going 1 day in London for more practice, and when I was ready for a varnish, this more advanced course, they sent me in London, and I spent another 7 weeks learning and speed up and find your own models and so on and so on. So it was a little bit different. When you private, they give it to you, the models. When you go to advanced levels, you have to find models requiring the cuts you have to do. So you have to start from everything from begin, but more advanced, more speed, more knowledge. The teacher, the directors there, they don't get involved as much. They have just tiny bit conversation with the customer, but you have to focus. And in the end, when you said I'm done, they're going to come check everything.
And double check, okay,
yeah, and the customer to be happy, make sure. And if it's everything is perfect, you have a tick in the box. If it's not, you have to retake. But all the time you have to make sure is a practice and exam, practice, exam. So you have to have at least 2 models minimum for 1 haircut. So you have to do minimum, I reckon, 12 haircuts mandatory to have level 4, NVQ level 4. But if you have distinction, you have to do another 2 or 3, which was the hardest haircuts to do. And you had to, again, practice and then remodel, which was quite hard to find them.
When you're done with like the learning, the tangible stuff, so you've got your MVQ or whatever you're going for.
Yeah.
How did you then look to like rent a chair from a salon?
No. I went straight in Basingstoke.
Employed?
No. I was an employee for another almost a year in Basingstoke.
Okay.
So I had to find out how is the salon environment, how is the cuts, how is with the customer. You don't have, if you make a mistake, you have to correct it. You have to do this. You don't have anyone to watch you. No one to be, behind you to say, okay, hold on a second, why are you doing that instead of doing that? So I learned that. I practiced a little bit, and then they've been sending me to more advanced courses. And when I achieved the level 4, I was ready to a salon with the different prices and.
What made you like want to then become your own business owner, right? Because I think most people, when they look at hairdressing, they get their MVQ or etc., they get their qualification, and then they want to be employed by a salon. Do you see the future of the industry being more business owner orientated?
And I start renting a chair to begin with, which I found it quite hard because most of the salons in Salisbury and probably all over, you have a little bit of, gaps. You can do this, which days you want to come. And in my point, I want to rent it as a monthly chair or weekly chair when I can have access every time. But most of them, they want specific days, and then you have to pay for that. So it was hard, to rent a chair, the cost of renting a chair, and you have to be in the time frame and everything. Sometimes the hardest part was when the customer, they didn't turn up to the appointments, but you still rented the chair, you have to pay for it, doesn't matter you earn or not, you have to pay. That was the difficulty. And to a point when I found everything was restricted, 9 to 5, 9 to 6, something like that. Then I found a little bit more frustrating because you have to work hard on Saturday, just to cover the rest of the week because everyone was working and someone wants after 6 o'clock for a haircut, which was hard because you have to ask for the key. Some owners, they don't like that, So then I found that, okay, let's work hard, let's save some money, let's find our own space and give freedom to the customers. If someone wants a haircut at 6 o'clock, they don't have to struggle or they have to find an appointment only on Saturday. We can do it 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. And then we're going to be more relaxed for me working during the week. We're going to be more relaxed for me in the Saturday or Sunday sometimes, not to cost customer, And that's I found it. And you have the freedom to come anytime you want, And you don't have to look, if you do something wrong, maybe the owner is not happy, or you speak a little bit louder, you can. All right. If you want to listen different music in your own salon for the type of customer, in the other salon it's the basic music. For me now, if I have someone young, I'm going to put something more trendy. If I have someone, different age, I'm going to put something. That's makes me the freedom. When you have your own salon, you have the freedom to do whatever you want, how you want it.
I think. For me, anyway, I think there's a kind of a focus, and nowadays, especially with like the economy being up and down, etc., a lot more people are, I guess, in some ways, valuing the freedom as a whole. Like as a business owner, right? So not necessarily in your industry, but as a whole, they are looking for more freedom-based things, right? So then maybe they'll take a pay cut, right? So let's say, for example, let's just put some numbers on it, right? They could make 40k a year on their own as a business owner. But actually, if they were in a corporate circumstance or corporate reality, they would be in like a 50k or a 60k. But actually that 20k is like, actually I'd rather have the freedom to be able to either be able to put my customers first, or in the ways you were describing about the music and the placement and the time and etc., or actually just have freedom over their time in respect to how they can work.
Yeah, but that's the thing, you have the freedom. Special being, having a child, you have to drop it to school, you have to take it off. Most of the companies, they don't accept things like that. You don't have this privilege, Say, I'm coming to work at 9 o'clock or 9:15 because I have to drop my kid at school. But 2:45, I have to go and take my kid and come back later. They don't accept this. They want you to be 9 to 5 or 10 to 6 or something. So you can't. You struggle with this, And sometimes you just receive quick calls from school, something happened, you have to take your kid, you can't do something. Or it's always
anything else that life has.
And that's the idea. If you have your own salon, you work based on customers. You block your time when you want to go, or you want to. Probably money-wise, if you work in a massive company, probably you're gonna earn more, but you're gonna have more stress, and you come home with a massive head. You don't have time for your family. When you work for yourself, I'm not selecting my customer. Customer selects me. If they wants to come to me, comes to me. If they wants to go somewhere else, they can go somewhere. There are choices, But it's always I try to accommodate them, And then they have to understand me. I can't do it 3 o'clock because someone wants it 3 o'clock. I always said, it's a school run. I can do it 3:45 or something. You have the freedom, but this freedom doesn't come with a cost, You can lose or you can win money, but it's a gamble which every self-employed will take it.
Yeah, and I think in general it's more what do you value overall, right? In that respect, like, is it the freedom or is it the time you could spend with family and having that freedom, but also then for the freedom to work in the evenings, the freedom to work on your time scale,
You have the freedom. I said you have the freedom. You have time for everything, And I have time to accommodate any customer when they want, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, you know. I don't have a time exactly. I got nights when I work until 10, 11 o'clock. If someone wants a big job and it's the only day can do it, why not?
How did you come up with your pricing? How do you completely tweak your pricing? I think pricing is such a unique like term, right? Like for every business, everyone is like, how do I price? How do I look at pricing? I mean, when you were going into business, have you kept your prices the same? Like, how did you come across your prices?
I try to look around what's the market in Salisbury. I can't compare with the prices in London or Basingstoke.
Yeah.
I start with doesn't matter, I was well advanced stylist, you know, with distinction, attend lots of classes in London for creating everything. I put the prices as a junior stylist.
Okay.
Just to attract customers, to see me, to know me, and have a, let's say, a good job for a junior stylist. And then I increase slowly, accordingly with the market. Some customers, they are not happy with the increase the prices, but it's nothing which I can do about it. Everything went up. For the last few years I didn't increase them, but over the sudden I had to. Otherwise you can't face the... And referring the prices is what is in the Salisbury area. I think my prices, they are fair.
I mean, it's a
according with the time.
Yeah, it's a value perception, right?
Yes, according with the time, I think my prices, they are. And I'm not cutting in 45 minutes, I'm not cutting 50 minutes, I'm cutting an hour, sometimes it takes an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 50 minutes, the price is the same. If they want a massive change, then the price goes up and we're gonna allocate more time. If the hair is long and thick, we're gonna be different price, different time. But I'm not rushing around, I'm trying to accord the customer time to speak with me, to explain what's the reason is in here. I'm not coming just for a haircut. It's not just a haircut. It's a haircut which makes her feel better, and then the prices go. I think prices in Salisbury, my prices, they are the same. It's with most of the salons. It's nothing. Probably someone which they are working freelance or they are working from their home, probably they're a little bit more cheap, but that was not my target, you know. I'm having overhead costs, I have a business to pay and everything. So my prices is accordingly with the prices in Salisbury, with a little bit more education then.
I think that's a really common one, right? Like, I think for so many people, they question their pricing, or they think about it a lot in respect to, like, am I too expensive? Like, but it's a value add. But for those who either are maybe new to business or etc., I mean, how did you come up with your pricing from like an actual nuts and bolts point of view, right? Like, is it just looking at your costs and then figuring out how much money do you want to make?
You look on the cost, how much cost your day for the salon or renting a chair, how much products will cost you, all right? How much you have to pay tax on that income, and then you have the little, you know, expensive towels to wash, shampoos, conditioner, all this, scissor to be sharp and everything. So you always have to put plus minus something in case, right? Because you never know what can happen. I can drop this clipper in a second and it will cost me a few hundreds just to buy a new one, all right? So if I'll put my hourly rate minus tax and everything, then this one will not gonna. But as a business, you have to take in consideration your time, your money, how much you spend for everything.
Yeah, and I think when businesses start, they don't overly consider that. I think they think, like, what's the market going rate, and like when maybe a client is looking at, like, say for what I do, for example, they maybe won't look at the years of experience that it took me to either like get all the kit, right, that I have, right, that you get within the price, or the skill or the understanding I have on how to utilize the camera, how to execute a strategy, or etc. In the same way, you know, we opened the podcast with you talking about, like, your experience, the amount of training you have, but also obviously all of your equipment, etc. as well. And I think when people look at something maybe as commoditized or as like competitive as hairdressing or barbering, they maybe don't necessarily appreciate how difficult it can be. I mean, what would you say in your experience, like, it's going to be a cliche question, but it's like, what makes a good haircut? Because I think people will look at the market and say, like, look at maybe your pricing, and then look at, like, someone else is maybe less, and to go, well, what's the difference between X and Y?
I want to not discuss too much about this one. It's about the level of the education of the stylist, right? It's about the understanding about beyond the haircut. Everyone can cut, yeah?
Yeah.
Even if you all say, come on, cut a length, you might do it, I'll show you. And that's not about that. It's about the end result, what you can create, what you can explain the customer, the benefits of this cut. And the prices goes accordingly with the knowledge of the stylist. If you want a cheap haircut, you're gonna go for a cheap haircut, you know? But depends. If you want just a haircut, you go for a haircut. Then you want to pay accordingly, I don't know, the price for a regular haircut. But if you want something different, then you have to pay a little bit more, because it's the level of our education. Everyone comes to me with a picture, Instagram picture. I want to look like that. For me to go to learn a haircut like that costs me thousands, right? If I'll cut cheap, how am I gonna cover my cost to go to London to achieve that haircut?
I think a percentage of it is also, again, like it's a value perception thing. Yes. Right, like it's just, there's a difference, and it might just be like, are you a business owner, and do you, like, is the perception of how well you look or how well groomed you look or etc. actually mean that you are more likely or less likely? And yeah, of course it's about the substance of what you sell as well, but is it also about, you know, how well do you look and how well groomed do you actually care about how you look, etc. and those things, and those little nuances around those things. But I mean, we spoke when I last got my head about, like, you were trying constantly, like, how to blend differently and stuff. I mean, like, it's part of the, I guess, your unique selling proposition, you could say, in a position where that's because you're looking for those extra fades and, like, those what I would say, those nuanced differences.
Yes, always I'm trying to, if I have a customer, and always I'm trying to focus what their achievements, if it's possible, we can do something a little bit different, because I can see something in there which I can create a different look. And always I'm trying to convince customer to go a little bit more brave than a classic haircut, because I know when I see a customer, doesn't matter if it's a gent or a lady, I can see after the haircut. All right, but sometimes it's hard for me to explain to a customer. If I give names of the haircut, they'll be scared about, and just try to simplify. And I say, look, I think based on what you're doing with your hair, and we can do this or we can do that. Some of them, first time when they're coming to me, they're a little bit more scared about, and I'm trying to plant the seed in their brain. They have options to go a little bit above just a regular haircut, and then they are coming back after, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months. They're curious to do it, and when they've done it, they say, "Oh, why should I did it before?" Or when you said.
I mean that opens up where I was going to go next, around how is your customer acquisition? I mean, in initial stages, is it just mostly word of mouth? Like you do a good job, a customer says to someone else, "Oh, this is the person who did my hair. You should check them out," etc. Yes,
could be that. Sometimes publicity a little bit, but mouth to mouth is the most.
Because I think the misconception sometimes when people look at marketing is they think that there's a golden bullet for it. So, in my experience, for example, anything that you do, whether it's video, whether it's Facebook, whatever it may be, like social media or websites or Google or paid traffic or etc., it's all going to make your reputation better in the respect to, so if you have a good reputation, that will then compound that good reputation.
Yes.
But it will also go the other way, right? Which is, obviously not in your case or like in someone else's case, but if they had like issues with the business or issue with the product service fit or issues with the actual product that they're offering or the service they're offering, a issue can be, if you market that too well, it can actually compound it will get worse for the company, because the more people are seeing the bad service necessarily, right? That's subjective, of course, but I think it's an interesting place, especially in a heavily competitive or a heavily commoditized market that you're in. I mean, how are you looking at navigating your marketing? Because I know that we've discussed previously, like, there's always stuff going on in the economy, and like I try not to personally focus on it because I can't control what the Chancellor has said or the PM has done. I mean, you know, in the span of in between us planning this and recording the show, there's been like another problem in the Middle East related to like a war, right? Which is going to cause global issues and concerns, right? But there's nothing we can do as business owners to stop or control that, right? So how, just to reiterate the question, like what are you looking at from a marketing point of view, if you are, to, I guess in some ways stay ahead or continue to look at the growth of the business? Because I'm a big believer in like, if you're not doing stuff to market your business, then you are unfortunately going to eventually hemorrhage customers.
Yes. What I'm trying to do is please the customers. Don't promise, over deliver most of the things. I'm trying my best. You know, I'm trying to advertise, and always I understand what's going on in this world at the moment. Everyone suffers, everyone is questioning, everyone can notice you increase with the Fiverr. I do understand. I try to explain. It's not up to me. It's about what happened with the Brexit, all the prices that went up, because we have to pay duty taxes and everything. Is nothing which I can control. But I know it's a little bit harder for everyone in these days. We're gonna be harder. I don't think so. This will gonna be the end. I'm not sure what's happening is they want to destroy those local small businesses and be just a massive company which they can cover all this. But
if we look tangibly at the economy in the UK, from my understanding at least, it's made up of small and medium-sized businesses. So I don't think that any government, regardless of colour, would quote-unquote want to destroy the businesses. That might be the byproduct. But I think when you look at marketing or growth, like, you know, I know you're looking at your website and stuff. I mean, like, what's your perception with advertising in general, right? As maybe someone who is like testing stuff and looking at stuff. I mean, what when you think of advertising, do you think of, like, for you?
For me, advertising about myself, or
like when you were looking to do advertising and gain more customers, right? Which is why everyone markets, why everyone advertises. What would you look at to do? What would your go-to be? Because you've got to do something tangible.
Yeah, of course, yes. It's always you have to see what most of the customer ask for in the area, right? You have to. There are key points about what customer they look in my area, hairdresser, barbers, and everything. Then you try to make a little bit of advert. I'm here, I do this, I do that. But it's very hard now with the marketing these days because everything is a link between your job. How often do you advertise yourself? What's your budget?
But there's loads of stuff you can do for free, right? So like something that I think could really work for you is like, obviously with client consent, but like every time you do a haircut, take a picture on your phone of like this was like the before and then the after, right?
Yeah.
And just do like a simple post around that and saying, well, like this gent came in and was asking for this, and like this is a before and after. And eventually, after you've done that for like 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, etc., then you'll get a reputation for what you do there. Also, little things like where you are, how you are, because I think, you know, I mean, looking at Google Maps, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of the business I get is through the website, but it's indirectly through Google Business.
Yes.
And, you know, I mean, people, I think they underestimate the power of getting a handful of 5-star reviews. Now, depending on your industry, will depend on what your like quote unquote golden number is to hit the top 3. But like the top 2 on average is going to be sponsored, people paying money to sit on top of Google. Bar that, then you'll have your 3 that are organic, and that's where I guess you could say the golden trilogy is, right? So if you were going to have an objective in marketing, in my view, it would be to get into that top 3. Now, that's easier said than done. A way of doing that is through reviews, right? And having up-to-date reviews and having, I guess in some ways, like, definitely true, obviously, like real people reviews, because there's a lot of people who like, oh, let's bot my reviews, which will get flagged and will hurt the rankings and so on. But the crux, I guess, I mean, how have you weaved in the idea of, I guess in some ways, getting reviews for what you do? Is that hard? Is that a difficult question for your customers?
It's very hard to receive good reviews. It's very easy to have a bad review. In general, I'm not asking customers. Most of my reviews, they are based on the customer experience.
Because in most cases when like a bad review happens, it tanks ratings, which is obviously unfair, but it's also one of those things in my view anyway, which is like it could just be a misunderstanding and someone seems to be a bit more trigger happy. And I think that in some ways it's our job to educate a business or a business community or like a customer community or whatever to consider the potential damage that review could do.
I think a bad review, it's destroying a business, especially if you are a small business. I think before you put a review on Google, I think it's better to discuss with the salon and see what they can do for the service they've done, what is wrong and why they didn't achieve something. But most of the reviews, I think they are not fair or they are fake, which is in my case. I had 2 reviews which customer never been in my salon, never engaged with me, and they decide to put something bad on my page, which I was devastated. But I tried to contact Google to discuss about that, and the Google said, they don't violate our privacy, which I think is not fair because it's black and white on Google. Say we are not accepting fake reviews, which people they are not on. They're not being in your salon, which I think for a small business it's hard. It's hard, but it's nothing which you can do. Always I'm trying to.
Is it the industry? Like, is it more vendetta-ish? Because like I've found to an extent in what I do, there's like 2 ways of looking at it. Either you can be a competitor, or like we're all competitors, but like the way you look at it or the way you think about it could be that people are going to work with you from a collaboration point of view. But I guess in some ways it's kind of a dog-eat-dog world in some ways, because it's like either I'm going to go to Sorin or I'm going to go to someone else.
That's the decision. I'm trying.
But it isn't even necessarily your decision, right? Because your job is to put up here's my window with what I sell in it.
Yep.
So to speak, and then it's down to the customer to choose, especially in a city like Salisbury, that the joke is for a long time that the high street is just becoming service based. We've got coffee shops, vape shops, and hairdressers, right?
That's Salisbury trend now.
But that's not just Salisbury. That's a high street problem, surely.
Yeah, but this high street with a lot of coffee shops and vape shop was not gonna bring more customers into town. Because town they need to bring.
Do you think it's more of a city-wide strategy then, to bring footfall to everyone?
Yes, in my point of view.
There's no, we're not going to sit here and necessarily point fingers at people, but is there in your experience, a conjoint strategy in that respect, like to bring more people in? I mean, you're next to the train station, right? So surely you get, or because you're only appointment based, is that?
Quite rare you find someone coming from the train station for a haircut. Okay. The walk-in, they disappear. Everyone is based on appointments.
Because I was going to say that would be my next question. I mean, why don't you do walk-ins?
Because
tangibly for you, because surely wouldn't it be easier for you, no?
It's not, people they don't walk in and have a haircut, not anymore. I've got days in here when I was working with a customer from 9 o'clock to 8 o'clock in the evening. I never had one coming in for a haircut. And if happens, they're gonna ask you, can you do a haircut now? In that moment, which is impossible. And to spend 8 to 10 hours in here, maybe once a day, someone will come for a haircut, which I doubt. Now everyone is over a click. They look for a hairdresser, they look in the area, they look for the reviews, they look for your work, they look for the picture, they're taking lots of in consideration before they decide to call you. They look for prices and so on.
Okay.
I think I'm not sure if my salons in the high street, they're gonna have more people walking to the salon and asking for a haircut. I doubt.
I was going to say, is locate, because is then in your line of work, is location overly important then?
Not really.
Because if you're appointment based and you bring the work to you, surely then your location to an extent is irrelevant.
Yep. Doesn't matter where you are. If someone wants to walk in, probably they're not gonna call you if you have an appointment.
Yeah. Because I was going to say, I mean, surely like that's a different, in a similar way, that's kind of a different, I don't want to say the word league of customer, but that's a different customer. The walk-in customer is not necessarily the one who's going to value the more expensive haircut necessarily.
No.
Right? Is there a correlation there?
No, the one which wants a walk-in haircut just want a haircut.
They're not overly fussed.
They don't care about how they're gonna look. They want a haircut, just a simple haircut, because he fed up with the length, his dry ends, or blah blah blah, and that's it. They want to come in and go out, and most of them, which they want a haircut, in my point of view, of course, it's can you do a dry haircut, which is impossible to do such things.
So just going back to like the earlier, like when you started out, was there, because obviously it wasn't all, well, I don't believe it would have been sunshine and rainbows necessarily. I mean, what were was there big challenges? Was there big concerns?
It is.
Was it just cash? Because that's, I think, the main issue.
Yeah, on the beginning was cash only, because you don't know how the market works. When I was working in a salon, everything was charged by the reception. When I started being a freelance, the challenge was to go to a customer's house, find a house, find where to park. That's the way it started. When I finished with the salon, I've been a freelance, and it was hard, it was hard. The prices, you have to keep them down, People, they don't take in consideration. You have to travel for 25 minutes to them, and everyone was cheap. I've done that just to build a little bit of clientele and to earn some money. For quite a few weeks, I wasn't earning anything. It is a challenge, and I think it's difficult, especially with colors, because when the color develops, especially when you do a little bit of highlights, a little bit of bleach, you have to wash it straight away. You can't do such things at customer's home. So for me, it was better to be in the salon, have everything.
So was that the solution that you found? Was actually being here, having a relocation means that you have, of course, that freedom, but also it better in the use cases that you had as well. With color,
you're not wasting time in travel. You have a better light, all the colors that you need. If something goes so different than you don't want it, you have backup. You can't travel with hundreds of colors. It's about the light. It's about you can't have everything with you.
So did you build savings beforehand? So from your time on Rent a Chair before you came here, because obviously like the down payments and stuff here, like did you loan that? Like how does that work from a business point of view? Because I think a lot of people look at it and go, there's a load of costs for having a salon with a load of risk, with no guarantee that it's necessarily going to work.
It's the same thing when you start being a hairdresser. You don't know if you carry on being successful or you go to the other way around.
Okay.
You can lose everything, But it's a gamble you take. You save when you make money.
Yeah.
Don't spend it all. And then when you think to have a business, you have to think what you need to start a business and how much money will going to cost you this business. And now you have to save a little bit. Everything, if you don't save, you don't start. You don't borrow money from the banks or anything. I'm not advising anyone to do such things. You have money, you start. If you don't have money, better to be employed.
So then you have a lean business. So then,
yes,
because I think that links into, I mean, we touched on it with the like economic challenges and stuff that happens in the world, and I think the businesses that I find have been able to like continue and grow, or at minimum just stay alive during that period, has been ones that have cash piles, have been ones that know how to manage money, have been ones that don't over leverage themselves in regards to loans and equivalent, right?
That's going to be very hard for them. If they do that if they go in that area, I think we're not going to survive for now. I think is the way you know how to look after your cash. You know, you make some money, don't spend it all, because we're gonna be rainy days when you need our cash. Especially in our industry, you have good months, bad weeks, good weeks. Always you have to think ahead what you want to do with the money. You spend it in a posh chair, or you want to spend in a posh car, or you want to spend in the a scissor, which makes your life easier, and then spend in a pair of expensive shoes. So I think when you make money, make sure where you want to go. You want to go back in the business and grow better, or you want to spend it in fashion. It's up to them. It's entitled up to the 25. Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I guess that leads on to how does any business, but yours specifically, get loyal customers or loyal clients? Because everyone wants loyal clients, right?
Yes. I'm trying to be me. I'm not, as I said earlier, I'm no promise, I'm over deliver. I do my best. I try to please the customers as much as I can. You know, I want my customer to come back to me. I want them to have a nice, you know, journey in here, from the door to the chair, to the consultation, to the backwash, to the cut, blow dry, and when we say bye-bye. And I think it's a nice journey. Always I put myself in the customer's chair, not being a hairdresser. I want to understand what is underneath, why they bother things. Always everything is in the consultation with the customers, is the connection with the customers, and try to achieve something different. And you want to stand up, you are different than the others. I think that's the most key point for all this hairdresser. Don't think it's just a haircut. It's more than a haircut. It's about the experience in the salon, it's the environment, it's everything. The customer, they don't say, but they look. And when they are coming back, it's fantastic. Overall, my average is 94.7 return customers on my booking system. So I think it's good, in my opinion.
I was gonna say, do you think that other maybe cheaper ones, or in general, like it's not aimed at anyone in specific, but like, do you think people don't focus on that customer experience as much?
I think so.
Because like for me, in what I do, when I focused on customer experience more and more and more, and that was more of what I focused on, client explanation and what does it feel like to work with me, not just tangibly like this is what you get, this is how much it costs, but like how does the client feel?
Yeah.
That's actually when the client expectation went really, really high.
Yeah.
And because it was something I was focusing on, but also I found that I was retaining more of my clients more of the time, and actually I was growing faster, and I was having higher rates.
That's the key. It's not always, it's what you can create for the customer and how the customer feels when they are paying. It's value for the money. I think that's the most important. Every customer will pay a little bit more for the job to be right. I think I got customers saying, Sorin, I prefer to pay a little bit more, but I want to have a good result. Then go a little bit cheaper and not being happy. So you pay what you get in the end of the day. And I'm put myself in the customer's shoes. What the customer wants to achieve.
So if you were going to wind the clock back, sorry, to 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 5 years ago, and you could talk to the person who was starting out, loves hairdressing, or just someone who's looking to start a business now, what advice would you give them?
Good one. I think I would say, focus in what you're doing, love what you're doing, and hope everything will be fine. Probably not going to be fine in the moment you want, but it's going to be a moment when everything will going to happen, I think. And that's probably the best advice to every hairdresser. Never give up, work hard, and you're going to be payoff.
As a final note, I would agree. I think it's residual. You've got to keep going regardless. You've got to redo the plan. If the plan's not working, redo the plan and then keep going. But if you did enjoy this episode and you would like to see more like it, make sure to be subscribed. I'd love to hear what you think in the comment section down below. It was a bit all over the place, but wanted to try something new. So thank you ever so much for watching, I'll see you
See you later. Bye.
very, very soon.